Welcome to Ein's Bakery. In this first video, we'll focus on the accounting treatment for bad debts and provision for doubtful debts in year 1. In August, Ein sold cupcakes worth 1,000 to the customer Inessa. In September, Inessa paid 1,000, but by year end, she still hadn't paid the remaining 200 ringgit. So despite all the follow-ups, Ein decides that on 31st of December, she wanted to write off the 200 as bad debt. So you need to remember that bad debts account is classified as an expense. Meanwhile, the other affected account will be Inessa, which is the account receivable. The normal entry for both the accounts are debit. While the effect of recording this transaction bad debts will be higher, but the account receivable will be lower because the debt has been written off. According to the rule, to record this transaction, we will follow the normal entry. If it increases the account balance, but we will do the contra of the normal entry because it's going to reduce the account balance for the account receivable. So with that, our journal entry will be debit bad debts and credit Inessa. That is the adjusting entry for the bad debts. Let's talk about the provision of doubtful debts. You need to remember that all provision will always be credit. And this provision of doubtful debts is simply an estimate of the future loss. In comparison to bad debts, bad debt is confirmed that the payment will never be received for few reasons. For example, the customer has been declared as bankrupt. So the business will no longer be able to collect the amount due to them. So that's why they write it off. As for the provision of doubtful debts, this is just an application of prudence concept. We want to make sure that the financial statement is not overstating any profits and show the current assets at the amount that is collectible and realizable. So coming back to the given information, Ein decided to create a provision, and this is the first time that she wanted to create this provision. And she chooses to apply a rate of 2% of the net trade receivables. Given information that her receivables after writing off Inessa's amount of 200 is 20,000. Therefore, the provision is 400,000 based on the calculation of 2% times with 20,000. So, since this is the first time of recording this transaction, you need to understand the analysis of this adjustment when you create a new provision. Usually, this is happening in year 1. So the two accounts will be the provision of doubtful debts and the income statement or the statement of profit or loss. The normal entry is always credit for provision. As for the statement of profit or loss, it depends on the situation. If it is a new provision, then it will be debited because it will be considered as an expense that will reduce the profit. If it is an increase of provision, similar, considered as an expense. If in the upcoming years, the provision will be lesser than the previous year, then it will be considered as other income when there's a reduction of the provision. So our entry, our journal entry, will be depending on the effect of recording this transaction. The provision will be higher because this is the first time that they created this account, and the expense will also increase. So your journal entry will just follow the normal entry, debit and credit. So we will record it as 31st of December, debit statement of profit or loss, the amount of 400, and then credit provision of doubtful debts 400. That will be our adjusting entry. Now, let's look at the effect of this adjustment on the statement of profit or loss. For year 1, since bad debt is an expense, we will record it under subheading of expenses. The first amount, bad debts, of 200. And the other effect will be the provision of doubtful debts, where there's an increase. What about the effect on the statement of financial position? We call it as an extract because it's not a full financial statement. So bad debts are affecting the current asset. Specifically reducing the account receivable. The given information was their closing balance of 20,000, and it has already inclusive of bad debts of Inessa. Okay. However, we also have provision of doubtful debts. Provision of doubtful debts will be shown after account receivable. The closing balance of 400. So the net account receivable will be 19,600. We're done. Let's check on the second year and the third year in the next click.